guys, and welcome to my channel. Today's plant update, I'm going to give you all the amazing updates from all my plants this week, and we're going to check to see how the poinsettia is doing this week. So if you want to see that, please stay tuned.
When I saw the girl called Ladybird, I bet.
Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a plant update video where I give you all the amazing updates on my plants, and we're going to check in on this poinsettia to see how it's doing. It's still the month of May, so we're just watering it when it gets completely dry. So here is the big poinsettia right here. So this is what's happening. It is a big pot. So what's happening right now is that it's growing lots and lots of leaves, which is pretty much what you want right now. What you want to do for this month is to water it when the soil is completely dry, and you want to fertilize it every 2 weeks right now. So that's what you want to do, because when it comes to being fall, about 8 weeks before Christmas, you're going to want to get it started for the leaves and the flowers and all of that. But for right now, you're just going to water it when the soil is dry, and you're just going to fertilize it every 2 weeks. Which this is the fertilizer I'm currently using, which you can find at any garden center. You can find it on Amazon as well. I will try to leave the affiliate link to that in the description below, or just the link to the product. So definitely, if you're wanting to get a fertilizer that works, I really like it. It really works for my plants. I just don't use it for my orchids because I have orchid specific fertilizer for that. And once we get to my orchids, I will show you those fertilizers as well. So now we're going to get to the Christmas and Easter cactuses. So this is the Christmas cactus, which right now, all we can expect are leaves, and this baby is growing lots and lots of leaves, which is amazing, which is very, very good. So right now, you just want them to grow lots and lots of leaves. You want to water them when the soil gets dry, again, because they are cactus, so they don't need to be watered constantly. Just give them water when they are in dry soil, because that's when you're able to say that they have no more water and they need some more. These are Easter cactuses, and right now, since Easter is over, you just want to let them grow some new leaves, which these guys are doing wonderfully. They're growing new leaves every day, so that's a really, really good sign that they're growing. Again, I fertilize all of these plants every 2 weeks. They all have the same schedule. They don't have to be fertilized on different days. I do them all at once. So easy for me. So now I have 2 Christmas cactuses and an Easter cactus. So these right here are my 2 Christmas cactuses, and this big guy right here is my Easter cactus. So again, right now you just want to water it when the soil is dry, and you just are only expecting new leaves right now. When it gets closer to Christmas, that's when you're going to want to do special things like put it by the window where it's cold at night, kind of limit the sunlight a little bit. But right now, we just want to water it when the soil is completely dry. You want to fertilize it every 2 weeks. That's pretty much what you're going to be doing right now. So now we're going to move to my aloe plant. These are the babies from the mama aloe outside. If you want to stay prepared to have aloes, I highly, highly recommend you have at least one inside and you have one outside, because what the mother plant does outside is that she produces up to about 10 babies a year. So just in case something happens inside and they die for some reason, sometimes it's nothing you do. and sometimes it is, but if you just water it as needed, make sure there are holes in the container, then you should be good to go. But definitely have a aloe outside growing. I just let nature take its course outside. I let the rain do the work. I don't really have to water it that much because I live in Florida, so it rains a lot during the summer down here, so I don't really have to water. But that way she will produce about 10 babies a year. Okay guys, now we're gonna move on to the orchids. So these guys were in fertilizer last night. I usually fertilize them around Sunday nights. It's just the easiest time for me to do it. But as you can see, this guy still has beautiful, beautiful flowers right now. And what I like to do is, when I'm going to fertilize it, what I do is I get the container ready in my kitchen. I get like a big bowl enough to fit 2 to 3 orchids depending which fertilizer I gotta be in. And I put the water in, I put the fertilizer in, and then I just let them sit in it for an hour. I take them out, I put it in clean water and put them back in their containers. And when I'm going to take them from their container to the fertilizing pot, I check the roots every single time, because you want to make sure that your roots are nice and healthy before you put them in fertilizer, which will help them grow. So I checked all of the roots and only had to cut about a couple roots off the entire batch, so that's a very, very good thing. So we got this guy right here, which is growing quite well. We got this new leaf growing right now. We have this flower spike that's still growing quite well. Possible buds, I'm very hopeful. And the root system is doing quite well. So the way you can tell if a root is a healthy root or if it's a dead root, if you have to feel the root. You can't always tell by color, so that helps, but you can't always tell by color. You have to feel the root. If the root is nice and firm, then it's a nice healthy root. But if the root just collapses and it smushes in your hand when you squeeze very gently, then that's a dead root, and you want to cut up to the point to where the root is firm. You don't want to cut past that point because that can open your orchid to infections, and that's not something you want at all. So here is my other orchid. I have all Phalaenopsis orchids because I love them, because their blooms can last up to a year and they're so easy to care for, and I just love them so much. So we got a new leaf coming in right here, got a new leaf right there. We got this root that likes to be there. Don't know what to they have a mind of their own, and I just let them do what they want to do. That's pretty much it. So we got new roots coming in with this guy, and it's looking quite good. We still have this flower spike right here, this nice little flower spike. There's always possibilities that it will branch off and it will produce buds. There's always that possibility. So then we got this orchid, which has been in spike, I want to say for a year at least a year, because it's been in spike for a while. So we got a new leaf right here that's growing quite well. And with Phalaenopsis orchids, each leaf will become bigger than the one before, as long as you're watering it or you're having a water culture and you're fertilizing it like you should. So with this guy, there's a little surprise. With this guy, there is a root coming in. It's very, very small right now, but there's at least one new root coming in, which is amazing. So that's really, really a good sign that your orchid is liking what you've done. If they are growing new roots, if they're growing new leaves or flower spikes, they are liking what you're doing. It's always a good sign if you see new growth on the orchid, especially when you transplant them into water culture. The difference between transplanting them into water culture and transplanting them into an organic media is that the blooms won't blast if you transplant transplant them from a organic media to water culture. I've done it a few times while they're in bloom and the blooms are still attached. If you want to transplant them from organic media to a new organic media, you are going to have to wait until after the blooms fade. Because if you do it when the blooms are still in effect and they haven't fallen off yet, you are at risk of a bud blast, where the flowers will just die because it was too stressed out. But in my experience doing it to water culture, I never had any issues with buds falling off, with bud blasts or anything like that. So if you're going to transplant into water culture, it's completely safe to do it at any time, even if they are in they have buds on or they have blooms. I haven't had any issues with that. So we're gonna move to the small baby right here. This little guy, oh my goodness, is growing so well. We have a new root right here growing. We got lots of roots growing. That's what you want. You want roots growing with this little guy. And I have a root that likes to be outside. It doesn't want to be in the water. I wouldn't recommend forcing the roots into the water. There are some that just like to be in the air all the time, and you're just gonna have to let that happen. So if I wouldn't force it, because it could break the roots, which again can cause infection, which you don't want, because that's another thing of problems you'll have, because then you have to decide what to do. You have to find out what works. It's a whole thing that I don't like doing at all. So this is my last Phalaenopsis orchid. We have that leaf growing right there. We got my aerial roots. I have at least 2, 3, about 3 that have roots that I like growing in the air. It just likes doing that. But I do have like a little surprise for you guys, and it's that this root is growing lots and lots of secondary roots, which is really, really good. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 secondary roots growing from that one root, which is really, really good. Because if you guys have been watching me for a while, you know that I was very worried about that orchid, because it wasn't growing new roots, it wasn't growing new leaves, it was growing nothing for months. So I'm really happy that it's growing and it's going to be awesome. So the fertilizer that I use for my orchids are these. And again, I will leave links in the description below if you want to check these out, because these are the ones I currently use. This fertilizer is for the orchids that don't have flowers, that don't have flower spikes, that are just growing leaves and roots. This is the fertilizer you want to use. It's the 20-20-20 fertilizer. That is the one, focus camera, that is the one you want to use for those orchids. So for the ones that are in bloom, or they have flowers, or they have a flower spike, this is the one you want to use. This is the bloom formula. I can't talk today, apparently. So it's a 6-30-30, which is good for orchids that have blooms or they have flower spikes. You definitely want to use this one. I will leave the link for both of these in the description below for you guys, so if you want to check them out. What's cool about these is that they come with a scoop, so you don't have to worry about having a scoop for them. They already come with a scoop, which is amazing. And I just, again, I put them in a pot depending how many I can fit into one. Sometimes I use 1 container, sometimes I use up to 3 containers, just depending. I have my avocado seeds back here, but right now there are no roots growing at this point. So I'm just gonna keep them until probably about the end of the year. And if at the end of the year they have done nothing, I will have to toss them out. I know my mom loves avocados, but if I can't get them to grow, I can't get them to grow. It's just a trial and error kind of thing for me. I try new plants. I try to see if I can get them to grow, and if I can't, I'm like, well, I tried. That's all I can do. I can try. But I've been growing plants for a while, and I think it's been good. I have lots of success with certain plants, and those are usually the certain plants I stick to because I know what I'm doing with them. So if you want to grow a plant that you have no experience in, I would suggest doing your research on it. Research the plant, research the care that you have to have, research everything that you are going to have to do before you get the plant. That way you'll know, I have to have a certain amount of this, I have a certain amount of sunlight, how to water it, when to water it, do I fertilize it, all those questions you can answer just by doing a Google search, or you can go on YouTube and search for a certain plant. Lots of people are doing planting videos now, so I'm sure you can find on YouTube the plant that you are looking for. The reason why I got into orchids was kind of because I love the way they look, but I had no experience in it. And I listened to what the lady at the counter said about watering the orchid, which was put ice in it, which I have found that kills it. So that was a good learning experience. So what I did is I went online, I went to YouTube of course, and I looked up orchids, how to care for them, and there's like hundreds of videos of people caring for orchids. But if you're not into orchids, just go to YouTube or do a Google search and search the plant you want to take care of and see what comes up and see if you can learn anything. I constantly learn every day. I've never stopped learning. I learn something every day, at least one thing a day. But I'm not the type that will stop learning for some reason. I probably won't stop learning till I die. So that's just the way I am. I like to learn. I'm constantly learning things. So yeah, don't stop learning. Don't stop asking questions about certain things. If you have any questions for me about my plants, I'm more than happy to answer them for you. And if it's about a certain plant that I don't have experience in, I will send you to someone that has experience in that video, in that plant, and they can help you out from there. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like this video if you liked it, share it to grow our community, and subscribe if you are new here. Hit that red button down below that says subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you're always notified when I put out a new video. And I will see you guys next week.